Hello everyone, hello, welcome back to Young Media. Hope that you're doing fine during this quarantine. Today we're gonna keep working on how the TESTCAFE Selectors works, and I'm gonna try to explain you some different elements or kind of helpers that we have to manage selectors. So I hope that you can find this video useful. And in the last video, we saw how to declare a selector inside a test. We saw how to use vanilla JavaScript to get a selector and using a function outside of the test. And also we saw how to use options, that dependency approach, which is a useful one if you find a scenario where you can apply it. So thank you very much again for seeing this video, and today we're gonna see three different three different methods or helpers that we have in order to get a selector. We're gonna see the child method. We're gonna see how the count method works. We're gonna see how the nth method actually works too. And to finish the video, we're gonna see how to use withAttribute and withExactText. We're gonna see some examples applying these concepts. I just want to say that we're not gonna cover all the topics that TESTCAFE has, but I highly recommend you to see the full documentation at the TESTCAFE site to get more context, and maybe you can find useful other methods that I'm not gonna cover in this video, right? Amazing. So to start, I guess that we're gonna work on the child selector example. We're gonna use that child method, which is this one in the website, and here we can see an explanation of what it does. Basically, it finds child elements for nodes in the matched set. All right, we're gonna use the same site that we were using in the last video, which was demoqa.com, and we're gonna basically come to the web tables element. We're gonna click on it again, and I think that's the basic example that we're gonna cover to use the child method. All right, so I'm gonna inspect with Google Chrome here to show you how it is gonna work. Basically, it is gonna find the UL element inside the website, and we're gonna look for the child element. As you might see here, we have a lot of childs with different elements. The child number 0 is textbooks, to say an example. The second one is checkbox. The third one is radio button, which is this one over here. And we want to come to web tables. So basically what we're going to do with this method child is use this syntaxes to get to the third child of the UL element. So it is going to come here, it is going to look for the first UL element in the DOM, and it is going to look for the fourth child inside of it. And so that's how it is going to work, and that's the way that to point the click to the correct element. In this particular case, we want to click on web tables. So as you might see here in the syntax, basically I just assigned that selector to a constant variable, which is checkbox children, and after I have it declared and assigned, I just come here, I use the TESTCAFE API, which is gonna be a topic that I'm gonna cover in the future. And after that, after we declare this line, we can use different actions or methods, assertions, etc. But in this particular case, we use the .click action to get the expected website or the scenario that we want. Right? Basically, it is gonna click on it, and after that, we're gonna get the web tables header over here and get the inner text in the same way as the last video has proceed. So I'm gonna try to run this test to show you how it works. It's gonna open up the web browser. I'm gonna use the same package.json with the same script. So I'm gonna use this and come here to terminal, npm run, and run the script as I want. Amazing. Let me see if it works as expected. I hope so. It is taking some time, but it is opening. It opens the web browser instance using Node.js. Amazing. It's clicking the third child of the UL element, and we get the web tables string printed on the console log. So that's amazing. That's how the child element works, and I hope that it makes very clear the way that it works. So please let me know in the comments if you had some kind of doubt, but I guess that's a good example to see how it works, right? So alright, that was the first example that I had for you today. So let's go to the next one. Why that name? Basically, we're gonna use two different selectors. We're gonna use two different methods, which are .count and .nth. And you might be wondering how this actually works and how I can use it in my real scenarios for the scripting. All right, let's get to this scenario. We're gonna use the checkbox element. We're gonna click on it, and we're gonna use the checkbox scenario to get some context and see how it can be applied in real life. All right, let's do. Let's see. Okay, it is gonna click. The first step of this test is gonna be click on the checkbox element. And after that, it is gonna find this particular selector, and I want you to see this selector. Basically, it is gonna be looking for the span checkbox, which is gonna represent the checkbox. And if you see here in the spec tool of Google Chrome, it says that it has found three different elements, three different nodes using the same selector. So if you see, I'm gonna click on the search next button, and it is gonna find three different checkbox inside the home folder. All right. So it means that using this particular selector, we have found three different nodes, and we can use this in TESTCAFE for our advantage. And let me show you how we can click on all the elements found using a for loop and integrating with the functions that I mentioned before. All right. So as you can see here, I'm gonna use the same selector, and I'm gonna declare a const variable named counter, and it is gonna have the amount of nodes that the selector has in the DOM. So basically, using a wait checkbox selector, which is the selector that I already declared and assigned, and using the method .count, I'm gonna have assigned to the counter variable three different nodes, since as you might see here in the console, or maybe in the inspect tool of Google Chrome, we have three different nodes. So that's basically what the .count method does. It's gonna count how many nodes we have found in the DOM. So once this is clear, I want to console log the checkbox found number that we have assigned in this particular variable. And after that, I guess that's the interesting part. I want to iterate with a for loop for each counter that we have. So basically, we have three different nodes, and I want to click on them as soon as clicking on every single node using the Mth method. let me show you with the real documentation, or the official documentation says about the Mth method. It basically selects an element with a specified index in the matched set. So basically, if I use the Mth method, it is gonna kind of has the, or it's gonna be the index of the different nodes that a selector has. So for example, if I use Mth parentheses 0 and close parentheses, it is gonna be pointing to the first checkbox. If I use Mth number 2, say an example, instead of the I variable, I'm gonna say that clicking on the second one, on the second node, it is gonna be clicking on the downloads checkbox basically. If I want to click only on the second one, on the documents checkbox, I just have to point over that selector. However, I just want to iterate to every single one using the counter, and show you an example of how we can mix this. All right. So it is basically gonna iterate through the different checkbox, and they will be clicked for every single in every single iteration. Sorry. So as soon as this is finished and all the checkboxes are clicked, you may see that we have different keywords here representing the folders that we have clicked. And I want this to be displayed on the console log. So basically, using the selector with the ID result, let me show you this. It is gonna be pointing to the div, which has all the keywords that I wanna have in the console log printed. So I just use the same method that I showed you before, the inner text, and I'm gonna console log this final result. So let me just delete the skip over here to get this test working as expected, and using the same script test demo, I'm gonna run this to show you how it actually works, or I hope so. It's clicking on checkbox. It is gonna click on every single child that it founds, and I got the expected final result. And as you can see here, I have printed the checkbox found, which has the number 3 as we wanted, and we also have the different words as the final result as expected. So this is working fine, and that's the simple example of how we can combine that count method and, for example, the .nth. There are multiple ways to use this. This is just one example to have you in context about how this can be worked. Amazing. So I'm gonna skip this test, and I just want to show you 2 more examples of how we can play with selectors. All right, let's continue. All right, we're gonna look the next method, which is withAttribute. Let me show you what the official documentation says about this. It basically says that it finds elements that contain the specified attribute and optionally attribute value. All right. Let me show you an example of how we can use this. I guess that it is gonna be useful for you in some cases. I'm gonna click on the item number 3, which is, I guess, web tables. We're gonna come back to the beginning scenario that I showed you, and we're gonna perform another action, and it is gonna be clicking on this button, clicking on the add button here, and we're gonna have this model opened, which is gonna have the registration form header over here. And what I want to do is get this header printed in the console log, just to have tracked that all the steps were followed as expected. And we're gonna use the withAttribute method to get this done. All right, let me show you how it is gonna work. We're gonna use the button selector over here to point to all the buttons available in the DOM, in the website. As you might see here, we have different buttons. Actually, it has found 9 buttons over here, as you can see in the inspector tool of Google Chrome. But I want to point to this particular button. We have different attributes here. For example, the ID, the add new record button. We can use this attribute ID to point to that particular selector. However, no, actually, I guess that I'm gonna use this. Yes, I'm gonna use the ID attribute to point as expected to this particular button, and we're gonna pass the class, which is the attribute that we wanna find. I'm sorry, the ID in this case, which is this one, and I'm gonna pass also the attribute, which is add new record button. As you might see here, it has the value add new record button, and that's basically how it is gonna work. I'm gonna point to the button. It is gonna have the attribute ID, and inside of ID, the value is gonna be add new record button. And I guess that it should work. Let me show you how it works, and I hope so that it works. To be honest, I don't remember if it is working as expected, but I hope so. Let me run it, npm run test demo, right? It will open up the instance of Google Chrome, and using it is gonna click on web tables. All right, it should click on the add button. All right, using the withAttribute method, and I'm gonna get the registration form printed on the console log over here. So basically, that's another example of how withAttribute we can use this method in different scenarios. And I just want you to explain you real quick to you for see how it works. So I hope that this is clear for you, but as I told you before, please let me know in comments if you have any doubt. All right, to continue with the next example, we're gonna use the withExactText to point to that button. We're gonna have the same scenario for this test. It is gonna come to web tables. It is gonna click on that, and we're gonna get the registration form string printed on the console log. But we're gonna use a different approach to point the selector to this button. Instead of using withAttribute, we're gonna use withExactText. All right, and withExactText method, what it does is basically selects elements whose text content extremely matches the specified text. All right, let me show you a real example. Basically, we want to click on the button which has the exact text of add, and that's basically what is gonna be wrote. I'm sorry, in the test. As you can see here, I have used the same structure, selector button, but instead of using withAttribute as I did this in this particular case, I use withExactText, and using the word add, which is gonna be the exact text that the button has, right? And that's basically how it is gonna work. I'm gonna get the element assigned to this particular constant. I'm gonna click on it, and after that I should get the header string printed on the console log. So let me show you that it works with this approach using the withExactText method. I'm sorry, I guess that I didn't save the file. As you can see here at the top of the file, it has a white point. So Control S, and it should work now. Let me see. It is opening up the console, the web browser. It should click on that using the exact text method, and that's it. I'm gonna get the registration form header text printed in the console log for you to see that it is working, and that's it. I guess that there are other different methods for use, and I just want to say again that we have another or other different methods in the documentation. I highly recommend you to see all of them if you can, but I guess that we have some of the most used methods, or actually one of the many of them that we have in the documentation and actually use them. So I hope that this video finds you well, that you can find this useful, and as I told you before, also please let me know in comments if you have some kind of issue, some kind of doubt, and I will be more than glad to help you out with that issue if I can. Of course. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for like and subscribe to this channel, and I hope that I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.